This is D, and Less Stress for Life. That's what's up. What's the difference between a police officer and the perpetrator? What's the difference between the trooper and the trash that he arrests? Is there a difference between the public servant and the public at large? I'd like to let you know that human beings are human beings. There's no one who's more special or more unique than the other, generally speaking. But I will tell you this also. You look at one who you think is so brilliant, and somebody else can show you someone else who's equally or even more brilliant. In fact, a wise man once said that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet is bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. Sadly, most of us are simply sheep following orders, sheep following policies, sheep following procedures as well as codes. You look at the Nazis. That's exactly what you discovered during the Nuremberg trials. You look at police when they get pinned down and they're asked, why did you do what you did? Many of them will say, hey, I was following orders. I was following policies. And then you look at many criminals who have been caught. And what were they doing? They were simply conforming to their community codes. Whether you talk about orders or policies or procedures or codes, many of them are written. Many of them are even unwritten. Many of them are formal, and many of them are also informal. As special as you think you are, as special as I think I am, we're not really that special. We're not really that uniquely special. And once again, we're simply sheep looking for a shepherd. An easy example of that is Adolf Hitler's henchmen, including henchwomen. And the women have to be added, but we'll talk about that later on. And their fidelity was not exempted to educational level or sexual orientation or religious persuasions. Have you ever heard of Stanley Milgram? Well, Stanley Milgram back in 1962 did an experiment. It was actually an obedience study. And the reason why he even did it was because he was so shocked to understand how people could follow blindly. What was his history? Well, this young man was Jewish. His parents, his parents immigrated to the United States after or before World War I. Many of his relatives after World War II, after surviving the Holocaust, immigrated to the United States. And some of them actually stayed at his house. And he heard these stories of obedience, blind obedience. So he decided, I'm going to have to do an experiment on this. He got his PhD in psychology, and in 1962, he conducted his obedience research. And in short, I'll just tell you what the research was. It basically had this person who was at the control panel of a high voltage shock machine. And whenever a particular student got the answer wrong, that person at the control panel had to actually shock the person who got the answer wrong. The more answers that the person got wrong, the higher that the shock had to go. And the voltage of the shocks were so high that they would actually kill somebody. But you have to understand that these were fake shocks. But the person at the control panel didn't realize that. And not only that, but it was a fake student. And the person didn't realize that either. But here's the thing. 65% of the individuals who were sitting at the control panel actually administered doses that would have been lethal. Now, would women have been quicker to refuse administration of pain? Bah! No, not at all. In fact, women were 10% more likely to dole out the pain. But have we advanced since 1962? How many police officers huddled around Rodney King? How many participated in the beating that he was given? Or how many of them gave a false report? Now, we can talk about the police, but how many Facebook Live videos do we see where there's one person who's being assaulted and there's several individuals who are standing around doing nothing other than yelling out some type of chant? How many FBI agents were involved in their crime lab scandal from the 1990s? But how many Enron executives were involved in their embezzlement practices during the 1990s? What are we driving at? Before we get there, I'd like to encourage you to like, share, comment, as well as subscribe. And also, click the notification bell so you can be notified of our next video. And as always, be sure to go to www.destressmethod.com for more resource information. We're all being led and we're all being guided by someone or something. Yeah, the police across the nation. What is it that they say? I feared for my life. You look at these high school kids around the United States. What is it that they did? They followed the media's directions and they protested gun violence. Let me hit you with this story and then I'm going to let you go. In 1971, Dr. Philip Zimbardo used well-balanced college students because he wanted to understand also this thing about compliance. Half of them he designated as prisoners. Half of them he designated as prison guards. Dave Eshelman was cast as a prison guard. And this was during the late 60s, early 70s. And remember, there was rebellion, there was challenge, there was the social revolution. And by the way, these were not just college students. These were Stanford men, from the house that Richard Sherman built. They folded like a house of cards. Let me tell you about David. He was probably the most obedient. He got his lead from Cool Hand Luke, a movie from 1967. All of them were just as obedient as the Hutus in 1994, and they were just as cooperative as Trujillo's troops during the Parsley Massacre. And the list can go on and on and on. This is an indictment against any and all of us because we all will face the ultimate tribunal. And let me tell you that this tribunal will make Nuremberg or the Hague or the Inquisition look like kitty court. You and I would do well to examine or re-examine whom we're obeying, whose policies we're truly following, because you and I are going to either receive the ultimate death sentence or the ultimate life sentence. Well, that's all I got for now. This is D. And let's stress for life. That's what's up. Peace.